So guys, this is an interview between Hariana. She's an Angolan journalist working in the White House. It's an interview between her and Christopher Smith, and he's a congressman who is dealing nowadays with the conflicts that are happening in Africa.
Hello everyone, we are back with one more interview here at the office of Congressman Christopher Smith. It's an honor to be here with you, African people.
So in this interview, we are going to analyze what Hariana have asked this man, if they are really relevant questions, they are irrelevant questions, but we are going to analyze and react to this interview.
Thank you, Congress. You touch in a very sensitive point, which is the rape of women, abuse on children. I actually witnessed that. Okay. I went to DRC. I spoke with women that faced those atrocities, and they themselves told me. So I've heard President Trump many times mention that what he wants the most is save life, is to avoid people being killed. Can you explain more, for the point of view of Congress, how do you see the conflict in DRC? It's been millions of Congolese being killed.
That's
this
right.
war. And President...
So this question have been formed in an inappropriate way. So this woman visited both Congo and Burundi, but she never came here to Rwanda to ask those people in Musanze how if they shared in their regions and many people died, but this journalist is just sitting here asking stupid questions.
And Trump finally decided to join the efforts to bring peace. But generally, how do you see this conflict? It's prolonged for so long, and President Trump already did his part. He bring together the presidents, and he made and signed a peace agreement. But first, before we go into the peace agreement, how do you see this over 30 years war, millions of Congolese killed, women's raped, children being abused? How do you assess all of that?
Well, these are crimes against humanity. They are being done either with the full complicity of, or at least allowing terrible, disparate parties to do terrible things. I do believe that, Paul Kagame needs to rein in the exploitation of minerals that he is very much, his country is very much a part of, because what happens then? That leads to conflict. That leads to taking cities. We know the minerals in DR Congo are very, very plentiful and very, very, if that could be used to raise the standard of living for every Congolese, it would be a godsend. It would be a miracle, and it should happen. And then we met with President Tshisekedi last week, and you were there, you were outside doing interviews, and I asked him, I said, whatever we can do to keep the wealth inside your country. So everybody, there was a famous saying, a rising tide raises all boats. Well, a rising tide of economic prosperity that is really shared by the people will improve their quality of life in terms of food, clothing, shelter, power, to have, I'm a big proponent of Power Africa, because Africa does need the ability to have generation of electric, but and you mentioned about the rape. I went to a Cure Africa NGO right outside of Goma, and I never met so many women who had been horribly...
But Congressman, before mentioning that, I want to also tell you that Wazalendo is the one committing those rapes. M23 has the high level of discipline more than those Congolese forces. So Wazalendo is the one committing this kind of rapes.
Brutally violated, raped in a group, and these women found faith and reconciliation, but they're traumatized.
Yeah, Congo is actually the #1 country in the world that has the most women raped.
Oh, that's so horrible.
So that's why this conflict, as everybody is mentioned, the ones that I spoke with, they really want to end.
Yes.
What is the role that the Congress play? You mentioned...
This woman is asking these questions in the way that she is just leading this congressman to where she wants. So these questions are really biased.
To me about these
Resolutions, right.
Can you explain?
Yeah, the role that we can play. Obviously, the president has done a tremendous job of getting the two parties, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio did a magnificent job as well, and others, to get them together in the same room, decide, there are different peace processes that have been occurring. This one seems to be bearing fruit, but it may, hit a U-turn if the violence begins to re-escalate, which we saw 2 days after the signing ceremony just a few miles away from here, and I was there for it. I had to pinch myself and say, I can't believe this. We've all been praying and hoping and working towards this for decades. I remember when, we got all worked up, as we should, about what was going on in Darfur. I went to Khartoum. I met with Bashir, who, was indicted by the ICC, and was very concerned about the slaughter of people in Darfur. And then I remember a number of people, including Ben Affleck, who said, but there's a big, and we knew it, but there wasn't a focus on, then it was 4 million people dead in DR Congo, and there was almost nothing being done to combat that. So I held a series of hearings. He testified at one of them to try to raise everybody's awareness, including my own, and seek answers. People are getting rich off dead bodies and women who have been exploited. That has got to end. I even did a bill that's passed in the Ways and Means Committee, has not gone to the floor yet, on trying to stop a supply chain that is totally tainted by the Chinese Communist Party. The EVs are, people like electric vehicles, but one of the substances that run them in the batteries is being mined in DR Congo with about 25.
But Mr. Congressman, there's a question that I want to ask you. When FDR shelled in Rwanda, in Musanze, and people died, why didn't you condemn the Democratic Republic of Congo, which gave them a safe haven? Why didn't you do that?
The 40,000 kids, child labor, and about 200,000 adults. Total exploitation. So I did 4 hearings on that one as well, and it did a bill that says anything that goes to Xinjiang for processing comes back here in an EV is inadmissible to the United States because of how it was produced. We need to clean the supply chains. Cobalt, if somebody wants an EV and it needs cobalt, okay, get it from a source where there are mining practices that are not exploitative, and then have your car, but don't drive a car around that's been made on the backs of little kids in the DR Congo and their parents. So supply chains are extremely important. Gold is now being in large amounts being processed. We know that. We just got to say supply chains have to be clean, or else it doesn't show up in the United States market. So that's why I have this bill in on the cobalt. It would create a presumption that it was made with child labor and forced labor, unless the producer, that would be China, can show otherwise. And they can't. They just can't. Even if they lie about it, they can't make any credible argument that it's not being done in a very exploitative way.
So this resolution
Yes.
haven't been passed?
That hasn't passed. That's just an encouragement to the president to keep on doing what he's doing, to let him know that we do care. That's why I'm having hearings, to keep the parties. If you take your mind off what's happening, if Congress often says, been there, done that, got the T-shirt, and moves on, the bad actors can say, okay, now we're freer to exploit and to kill and to maim. And so there's going to be, I believe, a number of actions taken if this doesn't turn around quickly. It's already too many weeks since the signing of the peace agreement. I know the president's upset, as are others. Stop killing. We're all sick and tired all over the world. Doesn't matter what continent you're on. Sick and tired of all the dead.
But Mr. Congressman, who is killing the Congolese people? It's the government of Congo. The government of Congo is the one killing those Banyamulenge Tutsis. in the videos that are circulating in WhatsApp groups, we have videos where Wazalendo is eating Banyamulenge. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Innocent people.
Evidence, Congressman Smith, the United Nations, many international organizations have witnessed, they have been following the killing in DRC. And this is actually what motivates everyone to be involved in this conflict, but because this needs to end. But you have said...
But they also, the UN has done some very good reporting on how many displaced persons there are. When M23 made their strong push, beginning, 5 or so years ago, I was like, oh, not again, not again. Here they go again, killing people, raping women, and then displacing so many tens of thousands of people who, out of sheer survival, have to leave their homes and go on the run.
When you receive those reports, what the report says, who is committing this atrocity, Congress?
Well, M23 is one of them, and we've been raising that issue repeatedly. 2 days after the peace treaty.
So why didn't you mention Wazalendo?
They invade again. Are you kidding me? That is such bad faith. They think we're not kidding. And that's why serious sanctions need to be levied on any bad actor, and that goes right to the very top if necessary. Generals, anybody else in the chain of command that is a part of it, and that's what we're asking. Tomorrow's hearing will be doing that in part. We got to say we have sanctions that can make a difference, and I think the president, he's the kind of guy that wants it to work, wants to admonish, wants to say, please, just do it. But when it gets to the point where it's not done, they got to wake up, because he will be very strong, and Marco Rubio, and saying, time's up. We turn the hourglass, time's up. We want you to protect your people and stop hurting so many millions of people years to date and hundreds of thousands even now.
But Congress, if violation continues and enforcement is delayed, what role should Congress play to ensure this agreement is taken seriously?
Sure.
You mentioned about sanctions, and everybody last time when you just did an interview, like a quick one, were asking how these sanctions will look like and what exactly are you planning?
Okay.
To President?
But you're planning to sanction who? You're planning to sanction Rwanda. So if you sanction Rwanda, for example, you will be massaging the problem. If you sanction Rwanda only, then the Congolese government will sit there thinking that they are doing the right things. Then they continue bombing people in Minembwe. They will be continuing to bomb people in Minembwe. So if you do that, then what will be the solution?
Continually dialoguing with the president and the Secretary of State and his entire State Department, the people involved in Africa in particular. And they get it. They're very smart people, very good people.
Every day, people still being killed.
So that's why we're asking. That's why I did the hearing a couple weeks ago, and tomorrow.
I'm still waiting for you guys to mention about FDR. You're forgetting to mention about FDR.
And there'll be more of these done to try to hold bad players to account.
Who are those bad players?
Well, I really think that Paul Kagame needs to be held to account. He's got to come clean on this, and he's got to order publicly that the killings stop. That's it. Bring back the people that are doing it. Don't make a dime illicitly through those mineral deposits. Not even a dime. And just cut off that supply chain. There are many people in Congress who visit with him, pray with him. Well, I've been asking them, talk to him and tell him to stop it. You got to treat people with respect. And Kagame and everyone else has to detect Shetty, everybody with total respect. And the old ways have to end of just killing people. And again, having met so many women like you have who suffered brutal rapes, in some cases gang rapes, right in front of their husbands to further demoralize them.
Well, you know very well.
I couldn't believe when I
testified. They told me those things.
I know. That's exactly what's happening and happened. And it's got to stop. And people need to go to prison for that. And certainly people who are allowing that as part of the authorities they have in government, they've got to be held to account as well. So I'm hoping the president, and his people are very well aware who the actors are.
Mr. Congressman, the rape is being done by Wazalendo. So don't forget that.
We have great intel. We've got a very comprehensive intelligence. So I think it's time to push that button and say that's it. We want this to work. I couldn't believe, again, how comprehensive the peace agreement was, how it also focuses on trying to end the exploitation of people working in the mines, because I've met with many of those people as well, and particularly in the ones that are being run by the Chinese Communist Party. And I raised that with President Tshisekedi when he was here. I said, the Chinese will exploit everything you have. They do it in other African countries as well. Take the wood, take this, take that, take the minerals.
So if China takes minerals, it will be seen as a crime. But if the United States take minerals, it will be seen as an appropriate thing to be done.
And what do you get back? Bupkis. You don't get anything back that's of worth. And they even bring in their own people to do the work, particularly in this case, the overseeing of the mines. And they beat people. They have arrearages. They don't pay them, which is awful as well. And, shame on the companies that sold out to them, too. And there's some Americans in that list, so the Chinese took over those mines. So it's a very serious problem. But this peace agreement and all its cluster of agreements.
But why are you angry about the Chinese?
Stop the war. Stop the war.
And Congressman, from the intel that you have received, have any time you receive any information about abuse of Banyamulenges or the Tutsi Congolese people? Because sometimes the government of Rwanda, they claim that the international community and everybody is...
Just pay attention to the way she's formulating this question. She's formulating it in a biased way.
Too much based on all the evidence that we already know, the aggression against the Congolese people, but not so much care about the Banyamulengs or the Tutsi, Rwanda, Tutsi Congolese people that are also being facing violation. Have you ever received any intel, any data, any information from international organization or even from the United Nations that the Rwandese people have been aggressed by Congolese people?
We hear talk of that, and if there's some evidence, we need tomorrow, maybe at our hearing, we'll...
Have you ever received anything?
Not much. Not compared to, who is doing the aggression. Of course, they want minerals. This is all about money, and it's got to end. And I do think the UN plays a role, and it needs to play even a more aggressive role in calling out. Don't always do this while they're both in fault. I'm so tired of that line.
Yeah, because that's what I want to know. If you ever received any substantial information about the killing of those people that Rwanda claims.
They're saying that Banyamulenge people are not being killed. The way they are speaking about it, it's just like they are thinking like it's a false information. But this woman has done, the worst job for sure. Why didn't she go to Goma or come to Rwanda to visit and then visit those refugees that are here in Rwanda?